As we read John like a koan, we'll see him increasingly use the person of Jesus as a guide into unknowing. When Jesus asks, "What are you looking for?" the disciples' first word is rabbi, as in, "Rabbi, where are you staying?" So let's keep our expectations around teachers in the back of our heads. Do we believe they have to represent our ideas of orthodoxy? Do we believe they must be above causing their students a scandal response? I have a theory that goes like this. In order for students to become teachers, students will fail, teachers will fail, and teachings will fail. Not that they must, but that they will. What we'll see is that Jesus didn't avoid teachings seen as unorthodox. By John 6, we'll see him flout kosher laws hugely. I'll withhold the details so as not to steal my own thunder. We'll see Jesus die without achieving what was hoped for from a judge's model Messiah. We'll also see the disciples, at least in John's gospel, most of them, flee the scene at the crucifixion. When the disciples ask Jesus, "Rabbi, where are you staying?" he doesn't answer with the objective remove typical of egos, but in a spirit of invitation. He just says, "Come and see." And that's a cool thing about koans generally. They don't run from positions of tension, but find in that tension an invitation. Pain, growth, emotional and physical muscles that have atrophied over time, these are one thing when seen from the perspective of the ego, from the force-centered perspective of the outside in, and another thing when we feel our way into them humbly from the feeling-centered perspective of the inside out. There's a conversion experience, a figure ground reversal, something that emerges from sustained, focused intentionality. We want to be desired. Adam and Eve had taken the fruit in the garden. They're operating from a desiring perspective because every creation hopes to learn that their creator wanted them to exist, that they weren't accidental. As Adam and Eve want to be desired, they signal that by desiring. They, no less than us, love the way they want to be loved. At its core, this is a holy thing. Not on its own, I suppose. Wanting is always a little problematic, but in light of Christ's cross, Jesus, allowing himself to be painfully lifted up, draws all to himself, becomes an object of desire that includes our possible aversion response. The fault lay in the fact that Adam didn't want everything. He only wanted the positive things. But all of the perceived negative consequences of the fall are just things that, because we're averse to them, are really tough to actively want. Learning how to want and cherish life's negative lessons as actively as its positive ones, this is part of learning to desire as well, though. Active pursuit of hard lessons that won't at all be fun. This is what Jesus did. And he did it because he wanted us to know that the only thing that incarnating would enduringly change is ourself, and that those changes go down in safety when our life is expansive enough to include death, when our being is expansive enough to include humility. So the invitation is come and see. Come and see that the curriculum is wider than your attractions. Come and see how grateful you'll be when difficult lessons come easier after years of sitting with them. Come and see that suffering is, some of it, self-imposed. Come and see that our range of emotional options expands when we see our denial for the impairment that it is. We'll flip the question around on Jesus eventually, and that too will be an important moment. Come and see, says the teacher, from every stone that speaks up because we've finally hushed. May I become ever better at responding.